Talkin Money.
Always under attack, always coming in last, bringing up the past. No one owes you anything, I think. You need a shotgun blast, a kick in the ass, so paranoid. Watch your back!
Let's get back to action with Talkin Money and your host, Jeff Tarbell.
Yeah, that guy needs a kick in the ass. How you doing?
Doing good, doing good.
We're all looped up on chocolate chip cookies.
Thanks, Mom.
Yeah. Now, John expects, cookies every Saturday now, or a little breakfast donut or something, something like that. So, you're retired. You got nothing, nothing else going on there other than baking, baking. And could you bring a little milk next time too? Our throats are kind of scratchy.
Stuck.
We gave some to Chris in there too. So if the board is all jacked up, he's high on cookies too. Did we get a winner for our exposed? I used the word exposed on purpose because I was trying to throw people off. I'm like that. I'm like a chameleon. I'm not sure what a chameleon has to do with exposed, but it is not UV rays. It is not smog or emissions. It is not
Grand Marnier
or gamma rays. And we would know a gamma ray if we saw one. It's like a stingray, but a stingray has got a bad attitude. He's a gamma ray. He's with a Raider jacket on. So if you did not get our quiz question, John's question was, you are exposed or around, or this comes to you in a 24-hour period today, the same amount of a person 60 years ago would have gotten over his lifetime. So think about that, what is constantly bombarding you every minute of every day.
And it's not debt.
It's not
Although
debt.
we have it.
Debt might be close. 339-1140, 1-800-920-1140. It's not Arco Arena talk either, so it's we'll let that hang out.
Power Balance Pavilion.
Power Balance Pavilion. Hey, you know what? I can call it what I want. Chris, this is my hour. Okay? I call whatever I want. This is my show. I don't cowtown them loose. I do what I want.
The Comstock Mortgage Pavilion.
The Comstock Mortgage Pavilion. Yeah. 339-1140, 1-800-920-1140, and off the text line at 44-1140. Hey, Jeff, I'm looking at purchasing a FSBO for sale by owner. It was assessed in 2010 for $370,000. Okay. How does the asking price correlate to assessed value? I'm assuming you mean today. It doesn't. 2010. If it was in the Fab 40 area in 2010, probably never went down in value. If it was in Elk Grove, it's probably worth, you probably buy all the cul-de-sac for $370 in some sections. And, it just depends on where you are. I mean, some sections have taken a huge dip. Some sections haven't moved at all. Yeah. But they're really, if you're looking at the 2010 assessed value and trying to figure out what you should pay for it today, that's apples and oranges. I mean, I have no idea. Did the guy put in a big old pool since 2010? Did he, I don't know. So if you don't know what to pay for it, then you can, there's some easy places you can just get an idea. I mean, Zillow is realty.com, and there's places that'll give you a rough estimate of value.
Your
right?
neighborhood realtor, maybe?
Yeah, call your realtor. I mean, I know they probably just don't want to try to get a realtor involved, but do this. Just say, hey, I think it's worth, first of all, what is it worth to you? I mean, at the end of the day, and I'm glad, and that's a perfect lead into something else, but what is it worth to you? What are you willing to pay? And I'm assuming you're talking about buying as your primary residence. So question number one is if you look at it and say, that place is a steal at $370, make them an offer at $370. Mm-hmm. Now, you're more than likely going to finance it. And here's the challenge we have. And I was looking at, here we go, this article. There was a good article in the Bee and in the Wall Street Journal, Steve. And this talks about stunned home buyers are finding that the bidding wars are back. So this is a good lead into that. And what we're finding is that particularly 370 would be on the high end of where we're seeing this, but certainly under 300. You get into the under 250, it gets like crazy busy because now you're competing with people that are buying investment properties and first-time home buyers, and you're getting into the point where you could rent for the cost of ownership is probably about the same as renting at that point. So what we're starting to see is a couple different things. Multiple bids on houses. So a strategy, if you will, you guys jump in wherever you want, a strategy, you will, of, okay, so John wants to bid on the house, I want to bid on the house, Kent wants to bid on the house. So we all put our bids in, But the agents have gotten pretty smart. So the listing agent says, well, I've got multiple bids coming in on this thing. So the listing agents, they're not lying. They do. So Kent's agent's a little smarter than my agent, John agent. So Kent's agent says, well, you know what we're going to do? They're asking $200 for this. They're probably going to get 4 offers at $200. So Kent's agent says, let's just write an offer for $215. And Kent's like, dude, I don't want to pay $215 for that house. No, you won't have to pay $215 for that house. What we'll do is we'll get our offer accepted at $215. The appraisal will come in at $205, and then we'll go back to the seller and say, hey,
reduce the price.
dude,
Right.
you guys are overpriced at $205, and we'll get the deal, and we'll get it at $205, which Kent would pay. So you see a lot of that going on right now, and it's a strategy of getting your offer accepted because you're offering more, and so that's fine, and that works in some cases, particularly on a bank-owned property, because it's very difficult for a bank on one hand to say, we make loans and we live off the appraisal. So John submitted us a loan, we want an appraisal, we're going to review appraisals. So the appraisals are God. But on the other hand, you're selling REO properties and you say, that appraisal's BS. We don't buy that. So they can't do it. They got to either
One or the other.
Yeah, we either accept the appraisals are legit or we're not. We don't. So they take Kent's offer, and they accepted at $205. He offered $215. So you're starting to see a couple things. So let's say that Kent's house, still the seller came back to Kent and said, you know what, you offer $215. I do have multiple bids. You're paying $215, and it appraised at $205. And this is what we're running into, and I think this is we talked about this at our conference this week too. And one of the people at this conference mentioned, when are we going to finally see some appreciation in our area? And my comment was, we already are seeing appreciation in our area. You look at when you put a property out that has multiple bids, and the price is the final resting price, if you will, is higher than the asking price. That's appreciation, not from where we were in 2005, but where we were even from what they're asking. Here's the problem. So Kent's got an accepted contract at $215, and his appraisal's at $205. And even at $215, all of us agree that's a hell of a house at $215. Probably worth more than that. Mm-hmm. But Kent's got a challenge because he's only got 3.5% down. He wants to go FHA. So FHA buyers we use the appraised value if it's lower. So we go to Kent and we say, okay, just for rough numbers, we're going to loan you $200. You're going to put down $5,000 down, and Kent's going, but dude, I got to pay $215 for this place. So he can't, in most cases, can't do it. And so John comes in next, and hopefully John's offer. So the seller says to John, okay, our $215 guy backed out. You want it for $215, and John's got 20 or 25% to put down. So he's able to put down his down payment and the extra little bit, the extra $10,000, and buy the house. And that's what we need. We need John to pay $215 for that house. Right. So that when I buy the one next door, we've got a good comp that says that exact model just sold for $215, and now I can finance one at $215, and someone has got to pay more than the next person.
Yeah, if you remember back 7, 8, 9 years ago, we had the same thing going on, but the thing was people had cash. People had money, they had equity. Sure, I'll pay an extra $10,000, $8,000, $20,000. I mean, probably all of us here have done it because it's a great house. We want it. We know what it's valued at.
Well, and think of one other thing, Kent, about 4 or 5 years ago. The way an appraisal was looked at, scrutinized, and there was nowhere near the level of intricacy on how we look at appraisals now. Because if I recall right, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, I believe an appraiser could say in a market, this is a market that is appreciating, X number percent, so we can allow you, the buyer, a couple percent increase over anything else we can prove because we know that market is climbing. Do you guys recall that? Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you had the ability, an appraiser had the ability to say, it's true. I couldn't find an exact comp of Kent's house at $215, but I did interview all the realtors. And there was multiple offers on it, and we are in an appreciating market, and so Kent's house, if it's not $215 now, is setting the market. And so that's one challenge we've got.